This is not uncommon. And it is especially not uncommon in an environment like this. And why would it not be uncommon to be experiencing judgments and fears and all of this in an environment like this? Because many people would anticipate you come here to find peace and joy and a silence. And yet, for some, it's a tsunami of mental noise. And why? And why do I say it is not uncommon? I'll explain, because here I feel if there's that earnestness in you, if there's that urge in you, to really be undressed of what is false and to come back to your harmonious, natural, original nature, then you're going to meet some forces that have been functioning or operating within your system that is directly opposed to freedom. Who put them there? Well, you know, it may surprise you if I say, God put them there. Also, what is there is, in the play of duality, is also an opposite urge, an urge to move into higher states of consciousness, to become more open and light and joyful, free from judgment, free from fear, to become wise, compassionate. These forces are potential in us. And yet there is another space out of which they both come, which is not a function of duality, it simply is. It is the place of perfect awareness, self, one's Shiva being, or Christ consciousness, you may call whatever. But it's the place of total completeness beyond even the concept of completeness. Few find it as it really is, in spite of the fact that we are choicelessly that already. This is the paradox of this existence. So I call the dynamic expression of consciousness in duality, in the world of relativity, the dance of existence, I sometimes refer to it as the theater of consciousness, the Leela of God, in which we have the sense of being alive, intelligent, existing inside this body, and having a sense of autonomy, meaning that we decide what we want to do and go where we want to go. And yet, in spite of having this sense of choice or autonomy or independence, we appear to make poor choices. We seem to bring much misery upon ourselves very often, because it seems as though we lack wise discernment in knowing what is truly good and what is not in service to the truth of our being, you see, like that. So as soon as there arises inside the human expression of consciousness an urge to go more deeply, to discover something more true, it is as though the battle begins inside. Like seems contrary forces are operating. The carnal energy or aspect of our self opposes the chance of being liberated from the limited idea of personhood into the universality of consciousness. So you come to a place like this, if you were being directed to more practice and to enjoy this and so on, you may not feel that resistance so strongly. Because perhaps you're not really ready to be free, really. You want to enjoy spirituality. You want to be able to meditate for 5 hours. And, the ego is allowed to participate in the journey of awakening. It feels happy and pleased. But as soon as there exists a real chance of going beyond the limited field of egoic identity, it's like, whoa. You should not be disappointed about that. Because the very resistance that comes up in satsang is an indication that you're really onto something. Maybe there really is a chance to go beyond this. Because satsang does not create in you that, it didn't give you that. It begins to expose inside energies which are not in service to your truth. And it is important to see them in order to transcend them. So this is what happens very often. And I would just encourage, don't give so much importance to this right now. It's as though your desire to go more deeply has somehow shuffled up the hornet's nest of resistance and so on. But you should not be in despair, because I want to point out to you that the power in you is infinitely greater than the resistance that comes from personhood or from the mind. If you're open to go beyond this, we can press on. So I'm not at all disappointed by someone coming up and saying, so much doubts come up. Where they come from? Right where we live in Portugal, we have one person who was working with us, and one of our team. And he seemed to have a lot of this anger and frustration. And one of his colleagues said to him, "You wake up like this? I mean, you wake up angry? I mean, you don't even wait for something to happen first? I mean, you just kind of get up. Where does it come from?" And yet soon you may come to recognize, as you follow the guidance that truly is not recreating a perfect self, but is actually pulling apart the veils of delusion that seem to hide your intuitive recognition of what is true in you. So as soon as this begins to open up the flower of awakening, these forces begin to recede. They may be hot at first. It's almost that they are auditioning for your attention. Every energy is put to distract you. But as soon as you begin to feel the fullness, the potency of what is really here, then these forces, they begin to lose their power. Their virility is cut. So all this, why would you have come for truth, why would you expect all this stuff coming up? Because it seems like this whole game of existence is a game of transcendence, that you must overcome them. Why not just make it easy in the first place? If we are of God, why do you have to go through all this? Because as you transcend lower states, you feel so uplifted. You feel it's as though you're winning yourself back. And there's a great joy in this. There's a great joy in being delivered from states of delusion. And as you go, as you deepen in your understanding, you begin to look back and say, it is indeed a great game. It's a great play. It's not that the play is designed for failure, but for transcendence. And life, even if you don't know about the things I'm speaking about, actually growth is transcendence. Expansion is transcending, outgrowing limited states, moving into higher ground, into more panoramic seeing. All this, don't be afraid of it, because a great force is with you. Keep choosing what you feel according to your present light, what you feel is right and true. We cannot help making mistakes. Mistakes is a part of the soil for learning and growing. Don't try to be perfect too much. Do the best you can and come more deeply into the recognition of the forces that are in support of your freedom. So these things, in the beginning, all this judgment is coming. I'm saying, yes, the judgment is coming, judgment is going. There is something in you that is aware of those energy play. Now a lot of judgments are coming and so on. If you don't identify with them, but just observe, don't fight with them, just observe until it is clear that the observer is not participating in any of that scenario. If you come to that thing, already you are feeling, you're experiencing your liberation. Okay? So I am not going to push you away and say, oh, he is full of judgment. No, it's going to come. And it's going to go, like everything else.